Dr. Kathy, why do you feel marriages or relationships seem to get better after an affair? Thank you for this question. I love this question. The first answer that comes to mind is that before an affair, there was a lot of emotional pain in at least one person and probably both people before someone chose to act out. Most of the time, the people who stray in relationships are avoidant and they tend not to talk about their feelings. So they have been in emotional pain for a long time. And the way they cope with that is by burying those feelings, compartmentalizing those feelings, avoiding those feelings. And that causes a lot of pain to keep developing and fermenting in them, right? So they often then have unhealthy ways of coping with this pain. Many of them turn to drinking or drugs. Some use gambling. Some use looking at porn. Some use gaming or escaping in some way. They're doing something to make themselves feel good so they don't have to address the emotional pain that they're actually in. Often there's also unhealthy communication skills, right? If you're an avoidant person, and anxious people too, but if you're an avoidant person, you want to avoid conflict, right? You do not enjoy conflict. You would rather run out the door. So your partner brings up something they're concerned about, and you want to try to shut that down as quickly as you can, which leaves one of you always running, one of you always chasing, and the person who's chasing always feels like they don't matter. They're not important. They're somehow unlovable. And so then they're starting to be in emotional pain. So you can see how affairs end up coming from trauma and pain and causing trauma and pain. So that creates a strained relationship. And when the relationship is strained, right, that's one more risk factor for an affair. And then often we get into this kind of negative cycle where someone is hurting, they try to bring up their feelings, that triggers the other person to feel attacked, they go away, this other person chases, and that makes the other person retreat even more, and then we're just constantly in this negative cycle where we're constantly fighting, and we just are feeling lousy all the time, and we get very emotionally disconnected from our partner. So you've got emotional pain, you've got relationship strain, emotional disconnection. You've got old trauma, poor communication skills, poor coping skills, sweeping things under the rug that we don't talk about. And often there's also an imbalance in power or responsibility in the relationship that creates some resentment. So then you add onto that a trauma or a trigger, and you're at high risk for an affair. So the affair basically kind of blows all of that up. And we're now at ground zero, if you will, and we need to rebuild the relationship from scratch. And we need to have an honest look at what was actually going on before and how do we fix that and how do we do it differently so that we can have a better, happier, healthier relationship. So an affair is a really painful, destructive, lousy way to get to that place where everything is out on the table and we can reconstruct a new relationship. But very often the new relationship we reconstruct is a much better relationship. So that's why I think that all happens. What do you guys think?